What's up, guys? Welcome back to FishOfHex. Today we're going to do a full in-depth review slash update of the 30-gallon chaeto reactor build. Now the system just hit 4 months old, so I definitely want to go through all the equipment that I have, what I like, what I dislike about that equipment, and kind of show you or talk about what the future plans for this system are going to be. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the tank. Now, the tank and stand I got from a business that was actually going out of business in New Jersey for about $75. So for a complete setup, I really couldn't have asked for anything better. Now, I did do my own modification to the return pump, which I'll get into here in a second. But other than that, the system is great, especially for the price. Now, the only downside to this tank is the rounded edges, which in the beginning I thought were pretty cool, just because it did give a different dimension. The tank looked, I guess, different than your standard box tank that has silicone in the edges. And I really like that, but when it came to cleaning it with the razor blade, which I do every other week or so, it was just a huge pain. You can only get so far into the edge, and then you got to wiggle the blade or get another tool to clean it. But other than that, that's the only downside to this entire setup. All right, so moving on to the return pump, I did replace the standard pump with a 1200 gallon per hour just because I needed the extra power to basically splice off between the main display as well as the BR110 biopellet reactor, which I then converted to a chaeto reactor, and the single reactor to the right of that, which I use for GFO and carbon. And I needed the extra power just to make sure I had enough flow going to both of those reactors as well as the main display. Now, the return pump works great. If there's anything ever going on with it or I have to take it out, I'll probably have to cut all the piping to get it out. I really didn't plan ahead for having to remove it later on, so I guess we'll kind of see how it works out here in the future. All right, so let's go and talk about the two reactors real quick. So we have the BR110 biopellet reactor, which I used on the 125 gallon reef, saved it, and just kind of decided to use it as a chaeto reactor for this. Now, I really like this reactor. It's rock solid. I have actually two sets of lights around that reactor. I have a standard 6500, and then I have the red and blue spectrum, which I added later on because I was having issues with the macroalgae, which I then actually found the source of the issue, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But other than that, I have two sets of lights, though there's a ton of stuff and a ton of heat going onto this reactor. It hasn't cracked, it's rock solid, no leaks, and it works really well for the chaeto. Now, moving over to the single reactor, I was actually using GFO and carbon, the recommended amount for the 30-gallon tank. Now, I since removed the GFO just because the acropora were starting to get a little bit light in color, as well as the macroalgae just stopped growing altogether. Now, I do feed the tank every other day, some mysis shrimp and bloodworms and stuff like that. But regardless of how much I fed, I just wasn't getting any growth out of my chaeto until I removed that GFO. Now, will I ever use GFO again on the system? To be honest with you, probably not. Now, unless I get some kind of reading back from the ICP test telling me that I have elevated phosphates, I'm probably not going to use it again, simply because I'm getting a ton of growth on that macroalgae now since I've removed it. And with that happening, I feel that I'm getting more benefit from the system. You know, before I removed it, I was emptying out that reactor once a month, maybe. Now that I've removed it, it's every 2 weeks or before that. So I feel that the growth is definitely making up for what I was using in GFO. Now, I'll let you guys know how that kind of turns out, give you guys an update on that. But right now, no GFO, a little bit of carbon, and let that chaeto reactor do its job. All right, let's go ahead and move up to the top of the tank and talk about the lighting here. So I am using one HD Prime, which was sponsored by saltwateraquarium.com. So shout out to them for hooking me up with this light. And right now it's on as close to the AB spectrum as I can possibly get. Now I do have the intensity up as high as I possibly can just to penetrate to the bottom of the tank. Now, if I could go back in time, I'd go ahead and add maybe 2 of these lights just to get a little bit better spread. Because I am having issues with one coral in the tank, and I feel that it's in the bottom left-hand side. It's that purple stylo. It's not getting enough light. It's just not getting enough coloration, and I'm probably going to have to pull it out just because it's not doing very well. But other than that, a single HD Prime definitely grows all the acros at the top of the water and about midway down to the tank without any issues. Now, if I could go back in time, I would add another one just to kind of see what kind of growth I would get that way. But other than that, the HD Prime rocks. I do recommend it for any tank underneath 30 gallons. If you're going to do it on a tank bigger than 30 gallons, you want to get more than one, and you'll be good to go. All right, moving on to filtration. We are using one aquaticlife mini skimmer. Now, this skimmer is rock solid for one exception and one exception only. The fact that the air inlet gets clogged up probably once every 3 weeks. You got to take the skimmer out and you have to clean it. It might just be because I'm pulling air from outside, but there is a sponge filter on the end of that tube, so it's not like I'm sucking in detritus or any kind of pest or anything. So it's just getting clogged up with, it looks like salt creep when I clean it out. So other than that, this skimmer rocks. I clean out the cup once a week, and it pulls out the same consistency in skimmate every time, and it's definitely helping keep the tank rock solid. Now, moving on to the other filtration I have, we have, of course, 1 gallon of marine pier spheres, and that is in the left chamber there. And it definitely helps. The only issue I have with them so far is I don't have any kind of mechanical filtration on this tank. So if food falls over the overflow on that left-hand side, it definitely goes down and gets stuck on the marine pier, and it kind of breaks down that way, and it just is an eyesore. But because I'm not looking at it all the time and I don't feel it's a big issue, what I will probably do is when I finally do a water change on this system down the road, I will go out of my way to kind of suck out the water out of that chamber and clean out that marine pier as much as I can, because detritus is detritus. It's going to sit in there eventually. Is going to add nutrients into the tank, but other than that, the marine pier works out great on top of the 25 pounds of 3-month cured Pucani, which without a doubt, curing my Pucani, I didn't obviously bleach it or anything like that. I just simply put it in the bucket and let it cure for 3 months, and rock solid. No algae, no issues. Parameters are stable. If you guys have been following the system for a while, you know that I added coral on day 6, which are acropora there, and 4 months later, no issues, and it's all growing really well. All right, with all that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the last part of this video, and that is the Jabo dosing pump and the Triton method. Now, first things first, the Jabo dosing pump, I will probably never buy another Jabo dosing pump ever again. I don't know what happened between the last 2 years, but the manufacturing has kind of gone to crap. The device itself looks better than the original one, the color and all that kind of stuff. It looks cooler, but other than that, it's a piece of crap. I actually went through 2 dosing heads just trying to get this thing calibrated. Thank God I kept all the extra dosing heads for the last 4 or 5 pumps that I've had, but it was 2 of them were dead out of the box. They wouldn't even work. I took them apart. They still wouldn't work, and it's just not worth it anymore. I'm not going to use this pump. I'm not going to recommend it, and I'm not going to put it on any of my clients' tanks because it's gone to crap. I think people are cutting corners when it comes to this stuff just because they're so popular, and unfortunately the quality has gone down significantly. Now, with that being said, I still have it on the 30 gallon just because I bought it. I got it calibrated finally and it's working, but we'll kind of probably end up replacing that with the DOS or dose system from Neptune Apex down the road. It's just kind of a big investment between a Jabo dosing pump and the dose system through Apex, but either way, it's probably going to get replaced here in the near future. Now, moving on to the Triton method, I will say without a doubt, the method works. It absolutely works. I haven't done a water change in 4 months. Everything is growing. No issues with anything. It seems to be working well. Now, I will tell you the problem I have with Triton method is the fact that the stuff is never in stock. When it is in stock, I get notifications at like 2 in the morning. I go to order it at 6 in the morning, and it's already out of stock. So right now, I have enough in my dosing containers to last me another 2 weeks, and then that system's not going to have Triton method anymore. What am I going to do? I'll probably have to convert over to the 2-part, and I'm going to continue not to do water changes just for the sake of continuing that whole process. But I'm probably going to have to go over to 2-part temporarily until the stuff is back in stock or I get a chance to order it. Now, I did end up getting a replacement through BRS when I had the leaking, which they took care of right away. Unfortunately, it was shipped to the wrong address, and I ended up losing it during transit, so I just don't have any. Now, unfortunately, I have many clients that are waiting on Triton method as well, because I wanted to transition a lot of my guys over to that because it's so easy, it works well, and everybody sees the 30 gallon, they're like, I want that. So I've been wanting to transition over to all my clients to that stuff, but it's just not happening because it's not in stock, and I don't really know when they're going to fix that or what's going on with the dosing containers. I'm still seeing videos and stuff on the forums about getting containers that still leak, so I think Triton has a lot of work to do to get on their feet to make their customers happy. I really hope they do. They definitely have a good product that works. They just kind of have to get it together, get the dosing containers fixed, and get the amount of product that's being requested out there so people can actually buy it. Alright, so that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it to be somewhat entertaining. Now, if you have any questions about the system, feel free to put it in the comment section below. Now, a quick update on the live streams and the Patreon. So I since went ahead and removed my Patreon account just because I wasn't able to hold up my end of the deal with everything going on. I just found it very difficult to even get back to people. And unfortunately, I don't want to say this, but some people took advantage of the service to a point where it just got overwhelming. Now, I only charged a couple bucks a month, and you can have your questions answered within 24 to 48 hours. And some people took that to a hell of an extreme, blowing my stuff up, and it felt like a full-time job just trying to take care of that. Now, unfortunately, that did kind of ruin it for everybody else, and it is what it is at this point. So I've since removed the Patreon account. If you want to contact me, go ahead and hit me up through email, and just kind of, we're going to have to go through that process like we did before until I can figure something else out. Now, when it comes to the Wednesday night live streams, if you have any questions that you have for the live stream or you want me to answer, feel free to either put them in the comment section and say, hey, this is for the live stream, or you can go ahead and email me and just title it Wednesday Night Live Stream, and I'll answer those questions during that. Now, unfortunately, there was one person that kind of ruined that as well. They got onto the live stream and they weren't exactly polite to a certain extent, and they were being pretty rude. And unfortunately, that just made it so I don't want anybody else getting on the live stream. So having it open up to the public is probably something that won't happen in the future, just to cut back on having any of those issues. So I do apologize. There's always one bad apple in the bunch that tend to ruin it for everybody else. But until now, we're just going to kind of move forward and kind of see how everything plays out. All right. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.